Hello, I'm Heidi Fleming, and I invite you into my journey as I heal from the loss of my husband. So, I had another milestone happen this past week, and that was I went on a trip, and this time I flew. So, it was the first time that I flew without Dennis, and also the first time I've stayed in a hotel since he and I went through his treatment. So, it was a lot of triggers and a lot of memories that I had to work through to help me through that. Once I got into Atlanta, I left from Daytona Beach. And once I got into Atlanta, I entered into the international concourse because I was flying to Mexico. And it was, again, very difficult because I was in the concourse, which was the last concourse we flew out of when we went to Costa Rica. And I stood in the area and looked up at the last table that we had lunch together with before we left for Costa Rica. Once I landed in Mexico, I had to find transportation. And again, this is just new, doing it by yourself. And I went up to the transportation counter. And the first thing that the man asked me is, "Where's your husband?" And I said, "Well, he passed away." And he said, "Well, we have a lot of Mexican men here. I can hook you up and you don't have to be by yourself." And so I explained that I wasn't interested in that. And he said, "Why? Mexican men are very nice." And I said, "I understand that they are, but I'm just not interested." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because my husband died." And I started crying. And then he wanted to know why I was crying. So that was a difficult conversation for me to have with him. And I don't think he was intentionally trying to be rude or mean or anything. It was just uncomfortable for me. So I got the transportation, and then I got to the hotel and I checked in. It was very pretty, and the area I was in was very pretty. The wedding was fabulous, gorgeous, just beautiful. The bride was beautiful, and not only physically, but just a great person. She has a beautiful heart, as does her husband. And so did all of the people that I met. Their friends and family were just terrific. My husband, Dennis, was supposed to be a speaker at this wedding. So again, that was something I needed to work through mentally to get through that. And then the reception, we went to the reception, and that was, again, very, very pretty. Lots of great people and great food and lots of dancing. And I did have some difficult times with the music as well as the dancing, because if you know Dennis, he was quite the dancer. And so that was hard for me to listen to the music. I was sitting at a table with lots of great people, and there was good conversation. But what I did notice was when I first sat down, I was the first one at the table, and I sat, and there was 4 chairs on one side and 4 on the other, and then the 2 end chairs. And so I sat on one of the sides where there were 4 chairs, not even thinking about couples sitting together. And so after 2 other couples had sat down, I realized that in my head, I was doing the math. I was like, "Oh, this isn't going to work." So I ended up having to sit at the end of the table as a single. And then there was one other single man, and he sat at the other end of the table. But that was just, again, something that I have to get used to and work through. Of course, watching all the couples take pictures together with, by the ocean and with the sunset. And that was beautiful to see, but also sad to see. Because I could imagine Dennis and I doing that together. Then at the end of the night, when I had to say goodbye to everyone, as I walked around, I say my goodbyes, and And I left the event where the reception was and walking down the stairs by myself, and then walking to call the transportation and just waiting by myself. And I was down below where the transportation was picking me up. And, you could hear all the music and the laughter and the dancing and up above. And the moon was behind me. It was a full moon. It was very pretty, beautiful, hearing the ocean. And just lots of memories to work through, as I was going through this event. And then I came home on the plane again through Atlanta and then into Daytona Beach. And while I was sitting on the plane, the flight was there, it was about 4 hours. And then home, it was a little bit less. It was just from Mexico to Atlanta was about, I think, 3.5 hours. So I watched a movie. And when Dennis and I would watch movies on the plane together, or anytime you watch a movie, something, if you're laughing, then you kind of look at the person you're watching it with, and you might make a comment about it or explain why that was funny, or just kind of laugh together, whatever it is. And so I was watching the movie on the plane, and I did giggle out loud, and but there was no one to share that with. And so that was just something, again, that was new for me that I had to experience. And then someone else on the plane sitting behind me must have had a cup of coffee, and that's what Dennis would drink when we were flying. And so that smell, again, was a trigger, just reminding me of him being beside me. So one of the verses in the Bible that I used to help get me through this is Isaiah 54:5. And the verse is this: "For your maker is your husband, the Lord Almighty is his name." And that is the verse that I leaned on as I went through this event. It was really difficult for me to attend. And, but I'm glad I did it. I'm really glad I did it. Not only because the bride and the groom, I wanted to be there to support them and their families, but also I understand that the answer to pain is in the pain. And there are just things that I have to do, even though they're very painful, for me to continue on this journey forward. And then one other thing that did happen, and I forgot to mention it, was this blanket right here, is they gave away these blankets because it was cold at the reception. And one of the men at my table asked me if I wanted one of the blankets, and he walked over and then he put it around me. So it was a good event. It was a beautiful event. Like I said, I'm glad that I did go, but it was really hard. And as you might be able to tell, it still is, thinking about it. But God's love is a healing balm. And I continue to lean on God, and I know that he will get me through. And he's here for you as well. You take care. Until next time, true peace.